good evening from TMS RoundTable. My name is Dr. Tova Goldfein. We are live. We are international in all four corners of the globe, the galaxy. Love reaching Jeannie in California. I'm here in the Middle East, and all of our listeners all over the world. So, first of all, we have a Q&A, which is a special kind of format that we do. And I'm really blessed to be here with Jeannie Kulwin, occasional co-host, and always full of joy. From my heart and home to yours. For any of the listeners that are starting to come on in the live stream, please leave your questions on the Facebook feed and we'll address them. Anyone that's not here in the live, and I mentioned this a few times, the recording will be up tonight or tomorrow morning, and you can still ask questions, and Jeannie and I will still be able to respond. And Jeannie and I, you can find us. We're available. Instagram, Facebook, we're here for you. So the topic is packed. It's full. It's emotional. It's something that we'll talk about all the time, and we'll have a lot to say. And most important is, I believe, for our listeners, is that we need fear.
Mm-hmm.
We're not here to get rid of it.
Mm-hmm.
We're here to have a relationship, but this is my language, or we're here to meet it in a healthy way. Now, how would you, right off the cuff, say about fear, Jeannie?
Well, I would say if there was one sentence, if I was on a podcast and someone said, summarize TMS in one sentence, which I have been asked, or if I want to just share that, I will say that fear is fueling our symptoms. So that's all TMS right there in one sentence. And also, to your point, exactly, we need fear. If there's a fire, we need to use that fear to run. And if we are in danger, we don't want to sit and breathe. We want to run away from danger. So we do need fear for our survival. But obviously with TMS, there's some wires that are a little mixed up there. So we need it. We want to have that when we truly need it, to your point. So I think the relationship with fear, right? Let's just go ahead and start there.
Yeah, and I think what we were talking about before before we went live was, I mean, people who live with real fear of various things, I mean, still have to have a relationship with their response or reaction to their fear,
Mm-hmm.
because that will determine how they will meet the threat. Okay, but right now we're talking about physiological, emotional threat, where your brain and nervous system live in a state of fight or flight because of chronic pain. It's funny because I was seeing something on Facebook about acute pain and chronic pain. Of course, acute pain is processed in one place of your brain, and chronic pain is processed in another place. And the chronic pain is what the brain starts to take the chronic pain and take the acute pain and make it chronic. And then it becomes the drama and the trauma. But more important is it becomes acute, becomes chronic because of our relationship with it. How about the example about the little child who gets hurt and doesn't cry until the mother comes over?
Yeah.
So we have to sort of understand fear. And what we're talking about tonight is fear of the chronic pain, fear of symptoms, health anxieties, or what I like to call health sensitivities, fear of our mortality, fear of our body. So we're talking about TMS, neuroplastic symptoms. But on that note, Jeannie and I wanted to share a little bit with our listeners about maybe some things in our personal professional life about fear and how we met our fear, because we're on the other side of fear. So we understand it because we both have been there. So let's maybe chat about that for a few minutes before the questions.
Yeah, and really, like Dr. Tova said, we're really talking about the fear in a TMS lens. So we're not talking about you're in trauma right now, or you're like in danger. We're talking about the threat of the pain and the TMS. And so, I mean, just a few weeks ago, I had all these irrational thoughts. So my ankle pain was one of my, the worst symptom. It was my first symptom. And 2 weeks ago, I just started having some irrational thoughts. and fears about my ankles. What if, and is it here? And do I feel, the self-monitoring and checking. And I knew, obviously, this is very TMS, and I just labeled the thoughts as, I would just say it out loud as I tell my clients, like, irrational thoughts, irrational fears. But it lasted about a week. And yeah, and it's scary, right? So I can't say I had no fear. I think we want to honor and validate that we are going to have fear at a level, but it is about really sinking into your intuition, your deep knowing that I'm going to be okay, that I really, 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 like, know and trust that this is TMS. Now, this isn't my preference. I love using that word. It's not my preference to have these irrational thoughts. I just want them to go away. But as we know, we do have to have that outcome independence. So there's always kind of stuff in the body going on for a lot of us, even when we're on the other side. So I didn't have a flare. I had some self-monitoring going on, a little tingling and sensations I wasn't really happy about. But yeah, I mean, those things really normal. We just want to validate that if you go to worst case scenario and you catastrophize and overthinking, that can make things worse. So that's just a little TMS one. How about you? Have you felt any?
So there was two examples I wanted to give, and one of them was not around pain, but around, because we address our pain and our symptoms because of our predictive coding, because of things in our life and how we grew up and how we met traumas and dramas and how relationships with our parents, and so we kind of take with us a certain relationship we have with fear. So that's partly. So what I wanted to share with the listeners is I lived a life of fear, not around pain or symptoms, but I lived a life of fear of moving forward, of growing up, of living my life. I was sort of always kind of a spectator looking in everyone else's life because I was so fearful to move on in life. And you know what? It was chronic. It wasn't chronic pain. It was a little IBS. I was diagnosed with Crohn's. I had crazy mold issues, but nothing that ever stopped me. But like a lot of people are like, yeah, I used to have TMS. I remember now. So I had TMS and it played out a lot in my body. But what I wanted to share was that I was petrified to make a big change in my life. And when I decided to make Aliyah 15 years ago, I was in such terror and fear, but it
Can you
didn't
share
feel
what
like,
that is? Because some
yeah,
people don't
yeah,
know what that is.
like fear. To make Aliyah, I decided to move my daughter and I from one country to another country and
Yeah.
change my life at age 52.
Yeah.
So
Cute.
yeah. And I remember the excitement because, scientifically, like excitement, fear, love, pain, sadness, like the emotions, they can get mixed up. So this was excitement, this was fear, this was a drive, like some kind of deep paradigm shift, I remember. And the point I want to make is that I was very fearful. And I remember literally channeling my fear as if I wanted to use it to serve me. And I use this concept with my clients. Like I wanted to take my fear and use it as power and fuel.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I did. I took that fear and I channeled it to kind of ride on the plane, across, the seas to be in my new life, which I love and I would never turn back right now. So part of it is one insight and take home for our listeners is how we reframe fear. Because the fear that we're talking about with chronic pain and autoimmune disease is fear of pain, fear of disease, fear of being out of control.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of how I wanted to frame that little story about, how do we know what we feel and how do we use it to serve us? Because where people are getting stuck, Jeannie, is that the fear is blocking them. They're in freeze mode. They're in freeze mode. And then they can't move forward in their healing. A lot of people may have been out of pain or asymptomatic, and then it comes back because of the fear.
Yeah.
Let's address that.
Yeah. Well, I think these are just such good examples of, we're talking about fear with neuroplastic pain today, but I just really want to highlight, and there's such a correlation between being able to face your fear with TMS and also make these big changes. So let's just go into that and then we'll kind of come back. As soon as I healed in 2019, so 2019, I healed, found TMS, healed. And then that same year I quit my job. So that's not a coincidence. My whole life, the same job, right? Started my company and that's huge. Fear, let's talk about fear to start a relationship or be vulnerable in a relationship or make a change with their career or move. I mean, fear is part of your life and you're going to live a really small life, right? But it goes deeper, right? Because we can maybe not want to face our fear because we're perfectionists. We don't want to make a mistake or we don't want to hurt someone's feelings. So it all like intersects, right? Like, oh, well, Jeannie's talking about a career change. I don't want to make a career change. Yeah, but the perfectionism is often stopping us. And of course, like I didn't want to start my company and fail or make mistakes or not know what I was doing. So it's huge. So I think, a good place to start is actually like the somatic of fear, right? Of actually noticing fear, even if it's just a tiny bit, just pausing and actually, I say like kind of taking the boogeyman out of it, right? This fear, this fear, this fear, this fear. Okay, well, actually just meet it. Can you allow and be in your body? And what do you feel? Oh, my heart is racing. Okay, well, can you just allow that? This is your body, the mind body. Your body gets to speak right now. So I think actually being in your body, noticing the sensations, and often we're going to move forward with the sensations, right? I mean, how many people give a speech or go live and they're nervous, right? People go live so it's not that oh, I'm nervous. We recognize that that's okay. It's okay to have fear when you do public speaking, but I feel like we're afraid to have fear with other things. So I think just knowing that it's the first step to your point, acknowledging we have fear, maybe like a tiny somatic tracking, right? If people are unsure of how do you actually just be in your body and feel it, we'll just think of a 1-minute somatic tracking with the fear. And that would be a great way to realize it's not dangerous.
Well, and this is where I heard about Susan Jeffers' book years ago, feel the fear and do it anyway. And I think I'm the kind of person who feels the fear and does it anyway. Like I'm a risk taker and that's kind of how I live my life. And it's probably saved me from having chronic Crohn's, which I could have had, or chronic mold issues, which I could have had. And it probably keeps me motivated on the excitement part of the pendulum. But also I still experience, every day, if I have to make a decision and I start to notice that I'm triggered, it's because I'm fearful of making a mistake. What if I disappoint someone? What if I said the wrong thing? And it reminds me of a patient that I had who every time she had to make a decision, she would faint. So what I understood about that is that we have a lot of anxiety first about our symptoms or about our body because of uncertainty or not being in control. And when we have to make a decision, it's like we're in this place of if I do right, if I do wrong. So there's this interesting indirect fear factor that I think comes up. So part of it is, what is your relationship with fear without pain? I think this is an important question.
Yeah, I think definitely. What's your relationship with uncertainty? What's your relationship with control? With making a mistake, right? Because you're going to make mistakes on your healing journey, of course, and you're going to have to. Maybe I have a client, his dad is a doctor, Western doctor, right? And he hired me. So we are going to maybe have to confront people or set boundaries. Yeah, all these things. So I do think, again, looking at other areas in your life, are you afraid to have that difficult conversation with your partner, right? So if you look in your life, I had a client who said to me he never, ever, ever fights with his wife because he never brings up anything and they never talk about anything. Okay, so these are things. So just look in your life. Are you avoiding fear? Are you avoiding conversations? Are you avoiding maybe dating or, you have to call someone and it's awkward. So you could start by doing some of these smaller things, right? Maybe you have to, instead of ghosting someone, look at why ghosting with dating is so rampant, because people are afraid to actually text, they're not interested. So you can look at areas of your life and just see if you can start to be a little bit uncomfortable and lean into it. Yeah. No, it's huge. And also the the overthinking and the over worrying, that's a lot of here, the mind. And so there was something on Instagram when she said, I don't know what the question is, but whatever macro is the answer, or bodybuilding is the answer. I'm like, I don't know what the question is, but mind body is the answer. So if you're struggling with making a decision, the answer is not going to come from the overthinking, the mind, the ego. The answer is always, like, a really intuitive answer is going to come from the body and when you're grounded. But we don't want to
Excellent.
be in the body like, oh, I don't like my fear. Let me analyze and let me overthink. It's the more you're
Good.
in your body. Yeah.
That's great. And it draws us into a very important point. And I didn't talk about this much, but I want to thank Michelle French, this amazing woman who will be on the broadcast in November, who is in healing and recovery from almost impossible autoimmune symptoms. She's amazing. A lot of the people in the CSF community and long COVID community know her. And she mentions often, because we're messaging back and forth, and we're preparing for the broadcast, but she mentions secondary fear. And I wasn't talking about that very much, but it's a very important subject because here it is. And then Dan Buglio has some videos around it. So you have a pain, you have a symptom, you have a decision to make. No, but let's stick with the pain. You have a pain, you have a symptom, you have a headache, you have a cold, you got hit that day with my patient just got hit with a door, and she came out of that brave and courage. And so something happens. Now you have the original reaction. Then what happens? Now we're talking about the secondary fear. Am I right here? That now it's like your reaction to the pain is like the little child. Is she going to cry because the parent comes, or is she going to go back and play because it's way more important to play on the swing than to like even get like a little hug, which is going to last a second, and then back on the swing. So where are we at with understanding our reaction and response to our symptoms? And then what happens after? Because that's the secondary pain. And that's what blows up.
Yeah.
That's what I was reading. I want to read this. I want to read this because I read it today, but I want to read it. And I'll send it to anybody that needs to hear this. It's from the pain reprocessing therapy work. It's very, very clear, concise, because I want to keep people focused. When we have a lot of fear and preoccupation around the pain, it reinforces the brain that the pain is dangerous, as opposed to, okay, I have a headache, I have a symptom, okay, I have, So here's how the cycle works. Pain triggers feelings of fear. The fear puts the brain on high alert. Okay, that's what your fight flight mechanism, that's your sympathetic nervous system. Okay, that's what it's there for. But if it's on high alert and you react, all of a sudden there's more pain. Way bigger than what happened.
Right.
Not proportional. This leads to more fear, which leads to more pain. Here's the cycle. We break the cycle. Take this home in your pocket. We break the cycle of fear and pain by shifting our perspective, framework, mindset, shifting our perspective of the pain and realizing that we're safe. You might hurt, you might be pissed, you might even be angry, but you're not in danger. This is such a key.
Yeah. It's another way you can think of it, which is exactly what you're saying, is the fear of the fear, right? So that's why it's the fear of the fear. So that's why I was saying, if you start with something small, like I have fear to send this text, I have fear to put this picture on Instagram. If you just sit with it and like, okay, this is fear, I'm not in danger, then you're not having fear of the fear and you're teaching your body that it's safe. So this is beautiful. So with the pain, right? I'm going to go for this walk instead of lying on my couch. Okay. And as you're going, again, acknowledge, validate, feel a little bit of this fear as you're moving forward. Yeah. And then a lot of times too, we don't want to feel the fear, but now maybe we might have guilt or shame or more anxiety or sadness about it. So now we've got this whole like shame fear sandwich where, to your point, you've got like a small fear, but now you've stacked a lot. Like, I'm not getting this. It's never going to work. Now you're feeling really frustrated and angry and I can't do it. So feeling the discomfort of the fear and otherwise, like you said, now you have fear on top of fear and then the fear pain cycle. So just like feeling like somatic tracking with the symptoms, somatic track the fear. I know it's not what we want to hear. Jeannie's telling me and Tova's telling me to somatic track my fear and feel it. Yeah, because guess what? What is somatic tracking? It's feeling without any danger and allowing and teaching, neuroplasticity. This is safe. So yeah, absolutely.
And sometimes if people are getting overwhelmed with, what do I do? My feelings, what am I feeling? Where do I go? Just sit with it.
Mm-hmm.
Just be aware and look at the players. There's my mind. There's my little girl. There's my little boy. There's my fear. There's my symptom. I have choices. So the awareness is what brings you to the logical place of, I have choices. Let's just quote Viktor Frankl. Between a thought and a stimulus or an action or a behavior, you have a choice.
Yes.
You have a moment. And in that moment between thought and stimulus, you have freedom.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is a very important point for everybody, wherever you're at on your journey, to know you have choices. Even how amazingly brilliant your brain got you to this place in your symptom package, it will take you out of it. That's how smart your brain is.
Yeah.
Jeannie?
And understanding that often thoughts are not facts. And we tend to believe, if I had a thought, Tova, like that's fact. I'm creating it and I have to believe it. And my mind was blown when thoughts are not facts. And even if it's true, it's not helpful. And a huge thing people can start to do is separate, just like I had all these thoughts for a week about my ankles. And that was that pause, right? Of these are separating. I know this is a fear and this is a thought and I am not my thoughts. And you love talking about it, me too. You get what you focus on, right? So if we have fear and we think about the symptom and we fear, like it just creates more symptoms and more fear and more pain.
I want to address the question because it was so powerful. I want to honor what I made a copy of the question on my phone. Okay, it was Julie Cochran, and she's not sure if she can make the live, but she says, I would love to ask, how can I stop feeling fear towards my tinnitus, which is not fun? Enormous compassion and empathy for you. She's had it for 7 months now, and she's so hyper-focused, hyper-focused, that it's ruining her ability to engage fully in life. Had all the tests, MRI, hearing, and she is fine. Nothing is wrong. Thank God. She was majorly stressed with lots of things before it suddenly came on. And there you go, my dear Julie, hyper-focused.
Yeah.
So if anyone wants to Google the SHIT or Chat GPT about focus, this is what it said. I went to look at it just to see, because I knew what I wanted to answer, Julie. Your brain will focus on what you tell it to. Yeah. It's called it's part of the cellular network, which is a big word. You can read about it in Dr. Schubiner book, but your body will decide, your brain will decide what's important by what your unconscious mind tells it. So there you go with the choice, and what you water will grow. And I know this sounds like woo-woo, and like, it's not so easy, doc, but it's habit, persistence, repetition. So Julie, in answer to your question, you said you're hyper-focused because that's the fear, pain. Like, if I focus on it, it'll go away. But what if we step back, take that pause? That's a breath. In every breath, you have an enormous choice. Not only are you secreting chemicals in your immune system, in your parasympathetic nervous system, you're activating your vagus nerve when you deep breathe. and bringing calm and safety just with the pause and the breath. But if you want to focus on something else, so it's a practice of learning that, oh, there I go on my ears. There I go. I hear music. Let me shift. Let me take myself to my breath. Let me put on other music. Let me go for a walk. Let me breathe. Let me tap. Let me hum. I want to hum. I want to sing. I want to dance. This is really the key. And I think the more that you teach your brain that you had that choice to shift away from the eagle eye and spotlight on the tinnitus, is the moment that you see you can walk out the door and go for a walk, that you can just watch your thoughts. You can question your thoughts. They're not true. Who and where would you be? What would your life be like without your thoughts? So your thoughts are, Julie, that you're hyper-focused, but that's just a thought. In that moment, you're like addicted to the tinnitus. We all go into our addiction. Let's talk about that for a minute here. But anyway, here's your insight. Practice refocusing, practice reframing, go into the body. What else, Jeannie?
Yeah, go into the body. The way to get out of the overthinking is to get into your body. So there's so many practices. I was going to say too, this is neural pathways. So if some people don't love when Tova and I talk about law of attraction or the quantum, I mean, we love it. So we're going to talk about it. But if you're more on the science, which this is all science, neural pathways, when you focus and obsess about something and think about it, you create really strong neural pathways. This is Alan Gordon. This is his whole book. So when we start to interrupt, like Tova said, and these are the thoughts, and I want to add too, this takes, let's use the C word, courage, right? So it's not that you're not going to, Tova and I just talked about, we have fear. I mean, I just, and I think too, if you never have fear, then you're living a really small life. When I was a teacher, I did not have a lot of fear. Maybe once a year when I got observed from the principal, right? I didn't have a lot of fear. Now I have a lot, right? But it shows the growth. So I'm having conversations with my partner that, oh my goodness, again, here we go. This is
We
hard.
have a relationship with your fear. That's the key.
Yeah.
That's the take home. A
Yeah.
relationship.
And give yourself credit when you're being really courageous. And sometimes, I mean, look at when I was in just a few weeks ago with the fear with the ankles, right? And okay, I can the whole day even though I had the thoughts, the day was the same, right? But maybe there was the day later where I look on the couch a little bit more, like, you know what, today's a little bit more kindness than the courage. Like, I'm not as courageous today. I'm going to have a little bit more kindness and self-compassion. So it's not like all day, every day, we're just super courageous. See if you can start to bring down these fear thoughts 5%. So you're not overwhelmed. And we have like 70,000 70,000 thoughts a day. So see if you can be those messages of safety are great that Nicole Sachs talks about. Try giving yourself especially if you're here and you know about the TMS, then this works, right? This works.
Beautiful, beautiful description. And yeah, I think we're bringing grace to fear. As Charlie Murrow would say, we're bringing agency to fear. Yeah. So
Yeah.
let's look at some of the questions. Okay, from Jenna. How can I learn to distinguish between a legitimate fear signaling a real physical danger versus a learned TMS-driven fear response?
Well, I mean, if she's talking about a structure, like meaning something like structure, or is she talking about like danger, like there's a hurricane?
Let me mention about my story just in a minute. Maybe this will answer Jenna. So I'm living in Israel, and we had, we've been in a war for 2 years, and for 12 weeks, I forget how many weeks, whatever, 12 days, there was a direct threat to my city and to myself. And I was living in bomb shelters throughout the day. So I thought a lot about that because I was under threat. My life was under threat. My people were being threatened. And I thought a lot about that. And what I realized was that I made a choice to come here. So I took responsibility, and this Susan Jeffers talks about this. I took responsibility for living in a country that has war at various times. It's the history of our country. And I realized that I was willing to take a bullet for my country. I was willing to die for my country because that was I had purpose and meaning in my identity as being a Jew and living here. So it goes much deeper. But what I understood was that it helped me meet my fear. So I think it's on an individual basis, Jenna, with what it actually is threatening you. And if it's a physical threat, I'd like to give another example that might help people. And a couple of years ago, someone sent me this article, and it was about a Navy SEALs officer. It was like a Navy SEALs trainer. And when you're in the Navy SEALs, you have to train in order to be accepted. And they put you through very fearful things. And the article was that the Navy SEALs soldier would have to go, he was tied up, and they put him underwater, and he had to untie himself and live. So in other words, he would get tied up and they would be underwater, and he had to figure out how to get untied. And what the story was about was that he knew his life was in danger. Mm-hmm. And he chose to go under the water and not freak out. So part of it is your reaction to the danger, to the fear. And the soldier, the Navy SEALs that made it was the one that did something like this. He was tied up and he went under the water. He came up for air. He took a deep breath. He went under the water and he slowly, carefully, thoughtfully, probably prayed, slowly started to untie himself. Came up for air, went back down again, and came out of it, as opposed to reacting or becoming scared. Like he was courageous and brave. And so I think part of it is the decisions we make about our life when we find ourselves in danger. And I recommend this movie called Facing Fear, which I posted and I'll continue to post. Because when we are facing real fear, please know that you have a choice. That's my opinion. What would you like to say to that,
Yeah,
Jeannie?
first of all, for sharing so vulnerably about you, because when we hear that, for a lot, let's just say here in America, where most of us probably are living if you're able to, with your phone, watch this broadcast, living in relative safety, it really puts things in perspective. And I think what came up for me when you were talking about yourself is it really helps us shift out of victimhood, right? Like you making that decision. This brings you agency, right? This brings you have control over that. And I think that is huge, because we can get lost in this fear and there's so many excuses and I'm different. And really that's what happens. We lose our agency and we shift back into victimhood, right? If this person is all the time focusing on tinnitus, then again, there's probably a lot of complaining. There's a lot of focus. There could be, right, a lot of excuses maybe. So I think, yeah, I was going to say too, from Susan Jeffers, her book, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. She has 5 cornerstones. We won't get into all of them, but one of them I love, that she goes, everyone has fear and everyone is in this. We kind of forget that everyone, and someone who's really successful or doing what you want or has the outcome or the results that you want, it's not that they're better or that they're have less fear. It's what Tova says, that they have a different relationship with fear and they're choosing to move forward. I had a lot of fear starting this business, and I had to meet the fear and the belief in myself, right? And that again is, if we're locked into the ego, we're locked into scarcity, we're locked into not enoughness. That's the ego. And again, that's here in the mind. So again, if this is hard I don't have the confidence and I don't have the courage, just like the body, that's going to be your home. Get more. And that's where the wisdom is and the stillness. So
we can learn, Like Janet, we can learn, like the God, it's Navy SEALs. We don't have to be, we can learn to meet our fear. It's a learned behavior. We weren't always taught it. We might have grew up in an enormous amount of trauma and drama and didn't feel safe, but we can learn self-compassion. We can learn self-love. We can learn to be more courageous. We're that way for our children and for our people and for our employees, but we don't always know how to do that for ourselves. Well, we're learning here all the time. So amazing, amazing. Next question from Gail. Hi, ladies. Thanks for this. Oh, you're welcome. We love it. We love it. I've been told I've Pudendal neuralgia. Is it possible to heal through TMS work? I have an entire playlist of amazing stories. And guess what, Gail? They're just like you. They're no different, these people. Pudendal neuralgia is neuroplastic, and I know you can recover. We've met lots of people on the broadcast. These people are on our playlist. Last week we talked with Laura and Fabian about horrible pelvic pain. I mean, I can't tell you, when I interviewed Laura, the pain that she had. I mean, like, I can't even mention it on here. We can't talk about like the level of pelvic pain that brought her to 25 different doctors, had to get surgery, and she's completely recovered. That's Laura Lamenko. I forget her, I'm not pronouncing her name. Yeah, Haraka. She's a specialist in this. I recommend that you meet with her, talk to her. You can talk with Jeannie or myself, because chronic pain is chronic pain. But absolutely a big yes to
Yeah,
that.
I've worked with a lot of people with pelvic pain and PN, so it's definitely you're in the right arena. Just stay in this arena. There's so many success stories. Yeah.
Trust this process. Next question from Ben. Is secondary fear just another name for health anxiety, or is it something else? Oh, Ben, I love this question. Jeannie, what do you say?
Actually, is it? I don't know. Like, I would just say secondary fear is like the fear of the fear. It's like something. Is it? I mean, I don't know if that's like the way, but the way I kind of use it is like, you see a spider and you have that fear, right? That's just like, that's never going to go away, or whatever it is for you, a snake, like the fear. But then the on top of it, that's what I think of, like
Everything you see is a snake.
right. And focusing on it and overthinking, and right. So yeah, I think it would be health anxiety,
Yeah.
right? I guess.
Well, I'm going on the line to say this. You can quote me on this. I'm going to the gallows with this one. Health anxiety is just health sensitivity. I'm sorry. I will not call it health anxiety. It gives it a really bad name. Anxiety is not bad either. It's just protection.
Yeah.
Health sensitivity is a super sensitivity, a hypersensitivity to your health, to your symptoms. And that can come from childhood. Again, my mother had MS, and I have a health sensitivity, and other people have had other reasons why they have a health sensitivity. Medical trauma gives us a health sensitivity. We just went through a pandemic. Please have compassion and love for yourself. We all are on the other side of COVID, and so many of us are not even on the other side of COVID. That gave us enormous health sensitivity. So I believe it is secondary fear, is this level of exaggeration around a symptom. It's not equal to the symptom, the response, not equal to the. So that's my opinion, and you can definitely work with it in these methods. Ben, thanks for asking that question. Next question, Bri. Lena, how can I stop feeling fear of palpitations and chest vibrations?
Well, I mean, first we got to make sure that yeah, you do. I mean, we can't diagnose from a small question or a statement, but I'll just assume that you've seen doctors and you've had things checked out. Yeah. So, I mean, first of all, the more you're educated you are around TMS and understanding that there's nothing to be afraid of. I mean, think of if you're about to do a speech, right? Some people have that fear here. So many ways, but I think a deeper understanding of TMS and understanding the neural pathways will help. And you can give yourself messages of safety. Okay, this is not my preference. I don't love this right now, but it's safe, or I'm safe, or this is just my body speaking, or I know what this is. So messages of safety are really great. I would feel that fear. Maybe not do it when you're 10 out of 10, But you could start if the TMS feeling fear is too much, just I'm a little afraid to make this new recipe tonight for my husband. Let me see what he says. Like something, just take the boogeyman out of this. Fear is like running our life. Yeah, it's like, and that's why she says, feel the fear and do it anyway. So we're going to have you don't want to, it's like avoiding the fear is creating more fear.
Yeah, very good. And so another way to when you have your symptom, you can do three things. One, there's my symptom, there's my pain. Okay, number one, evidence. Okay, I went to the doctor, my blood pressure's okay. I have a little, fast heartbeat, but I'm okay. When I get excited or when my unconscious mind gets triggered, I probably get some chest sensations. It's probably a learned sympathetic fight and flight reaction evidence. I'm okay. Two, what just happened in my life an hour ago, maybe this morning? What was I thinking? What could this symptom mean? Some of the work that I've been doing with the PRT and the ladies who wrote this therapist who wrote the PRT workbook always say, what is your symptom saying to you? What's the message of your symptom? And then go to the deeper feeling. What deeper feeling? Shame, fear, anger, rage, guilt. What deeper core feeling in your unconscious mind might be triggering your amygdala to kind of set off your fight and flight mechanism to put you in that cycle? So again, sit back and take a look at 1, 2, and 3. And maybe that becomes the habit of like how you respond to your heart palpitations, to your chest pain. At some point, you'll have this relationship and it'll be, okay, sensations, it's okay. Let's go and take a walk together. Let's go breathe together.
Yeah, I think that compassion is really helpful because maybe, let's say, I spent a long time in the Western medical, and a lot of us have. And so let's say 10 years for me was really long over that. Doctor after doctor. And I've probably seen, over 25 doctors and how many chiropractors and how many So when you've been told over and over, this is what's wrong with you or this, or there isn't anything wrong with you. And then all of a sudden you discover TMS. So give yourself compassion. And I love, Jim Prusak is like with the fear and the fear brain. It's like, okay, like I'm not going down there. Right. So that could vibe for you. Right? One day you're having a lot of courage, but now another day you might want to take that hard stand. Maybe you're just going to be more compassionate. It's okay.
Beautiful choices. Next question, please. Ed. Thank you for being here, Ed. He's just making a comment. I had pelvic pain for several years when my low back pain began. It was more severe than the pelvic pain. In a matter of months, that unrelenting pelvic pain is there more of the question? Pretty much vanished and was totally replaced by low back pain. So I think what Ed is telling us that it became one pain as opposed to another. Became like a I'm blanking on what Sarno calls the if it's not one pain, it's another. So again, symptom imperative. Thank you. So go to the cause. And that's what I'm working with Ed right now. And that's what I'm teaching him. Go to the cause rather than like, let me like do something with my pelvic or low back pain. Go to the cause, evidence, what's going on in your life. What's the deeper feeling? Are you pissed? Go ahead for a run. Go ahead and scream at the top of the mountain. Next question, Bri. What does it actually mean to handle a pain flare well? Does this surviving it count as a win? Great question, Kevin. Jeannie?
Okay. So let me read it again. So we always have agency, like Doc Tova said. We always have agency. So when a symptom, it's not, I know we think, oh my gosh, the symptom came back, or it's worse, or it's a flare, it's a symptom imperative. That's not as important. What is important is how you respond. So I would say no, not surviving it, because you could go into panic and overwhelm and all this fear. I mean, no judgment, right? We're all learning, we're all making mistakes. But I would say the goal, right, is to not respond with fear. So let's say a pain flare, let's just say your back. So can you give yourself messages of, just like I did with my ankles? I know what this is, and lots of messages of safety, and okay, my silly brain is triggered, and that amygdala, and doing this work of, okay, what's going on in my life? What is this pain trying to protect me from? So I really think you have agency, Kevin. We all do, of how we respond to a symptom, just like I was doing, how do I respond to my thoughts? So you have agency. Yeah.
Next question, Brian. So is the goal for recovery to just become so normal that it's boring and not scary anymore?
More regular. I mean, obviously, depending on your nervous system, right? So if you're very dysregulated, I would say, yeah, the goal is to become more regulated, and it might take the nervous system longer. It might take shorter. So the more regulated you are, the more you're going to be able to go into your body and feel this, right? Like, it's really hard to sit and feel the fear if you're at a 10 out of 10 and you're right. So I would say the goal is to little by little regulate the nervous system, but I mean, you're still normal with the dysregulated nervous system.
I'm gonna go on the I don't know what you call it. I'm gonna
On
go
the
on
record.
the gallows to say
Yeah,
this
I
one.
love that when you say that.
I'm gonna go on the record. So in answer to your question, we become addicted to the pain. And I learned this a lot from Joe Dispenza, and even Doc Hansen will mention this. And he went through it, 19 years of chronic pain, couldn't cross a bridge without a panic attack, burning feet, like Doc Hansen can talk about it. But you can become addicted to it, and then it becomes your life, your identity. So what happens when you don't have it? Do you not have a life? And so rather than get deep into that, which is a great topic for another Q&A, Jeannie, but
Yeah.
I'd love you to walk away with the fact that we're looking for balance here. So many of us we're not here to get rid of the symptoms and be cured and be pain-free and be painless. We're here to have a relationship with our body that expresses normal, variable symptoms all the time. Thank God my chest goes like this. Thank God when I'm crossing the street or when there's an alarm. Thank God my body does that. What is our relationship with our symptoms, with our pain, with our fear, with our emotions? This is really about us. This is a relationship with you. And so let's really strive for balance and clarity and your own relationship with your mortality and your life and, deeper philosophical questions like that. But that was really an important question. And that's on your mind. And I'm really happy you expressed it. Really so happy you're expressing yourself here, and don't ever feel scared to share anything with us here because we're all going through it.
One little tip, right, Tova? That would be an action step, maybe, that maybe you have fear to write a question or a comment. And so you could notice that, take a breath, and still do it.
Yeah. Very good.
Can I
Next
add one
question.
more thing,
Yeah,
Tova?
please.
I want to say too, with anxiety, we look at anxiety as a mind body symptom, and often the anxiety, it's just right there to hold these deeper, darker, I don't say darker, but maybe some of these negative emotions. So the anxiety serving a purpose. Okay. So when we ask you to feel, if there's anxiety, they're asking me to feel it. Yeah. Because little by little, we're going to start to dissolve and process the anxiety. And that is what the deeper work is maybe the shame, like Tova said, the sadness, the deep rage, like Sarno says. The anxiety is there as a protective. Okay. So this isn't just do scary things. It's actually feel. Again, you got to feel it to heal it so that you can do this deeper work. So just want to mention it.
Well stated. What other questions do we have? How do you reconcile the work? I love you, Joel. How do you reconcile the work required when you know you have TMS, but there's also lingering doubt? Important question. Lingering doubt that you also have physical issues that you intend to also heal through faith. How do you reconcile the work required when you know you have TMS, but there's also lingering doubt that you also have physical issues that you intend to also heal through faith? I just want to answer that.
And there's another part too. There's a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah. Anyway, It's like you need to go down the path of, say, a sarno and dispensa at the same time. Is this counterproductive or the way forward? Beautiful. This is what again, in my life, in my work here, and in my life of 68 years, I've seen so many people heal from so many things, let alone, we are not even talking to people who have come from, being dead and alive because of, past whatever. Like, we're not even talking about all that and past lives and tikkuns and karmas. What I'm saying to you and to the listeners is that the body has the solution before any problem. The body is made to heal. It has an innate intelligence that is constantly and consistently striving for healing. Yes, you have a fight and flight mechanism that's protecting you, but then when you keep it when it's hijacked, it's going to keep protecting you, and then there's a conflict. But what I want to say is that your immune system, your nervous system, your 12 systems are constantly striving to function in balance and homeostasis. And what I've learned over the years is that your thoughts trump everything. This is the spaceship. This is the umbrella. This is the universe. And then when I started to learn about the Dispenza work and Bruce Lipton and Greg Braden and watching a movie like Love Heals and studying more of the Eastern philosophy, I understood the choices we have, and that when people make a decision that they're going to heal and recover, and the goal is not to be symptom free, but the goal is to be on the journey and to live a balanced life and to do the best they can and to do the work they need to do, to not be a victim, but to be a victor of their body, to understand their body's not against them, to look at all the players and put that together and move forward, like you said. I think it's very possible. I mean, we're seeing it happen over and over again. So if it's not happening for you, then you're just on your journey. It's like what some of the docs say when we say to them, why are people stuck? Why are people not progressing? Why are they in limbo? Well, their brain is still believing that they need to be saved. They need to be protected. And the body's still creating enormous symptoms. And so I think it's really about your journey, Joel, and where you're at, and that you've got to also honor where you've come from. You've got to look at the courage that you've brought to you and your family, coming even to this place to ask that question. And I know it's frustrating, and I know you're pissed, and I know you're wanting a new body, but put things into perspective and stay on the journey. You're very close. Sometimes we're there, right in front of the treasure, just like pulling the curtain, in the Wizard of Oz. You're there. So maybe just like what the dispenser work is begin to act like you're there. Begin to behave like the person you want to be. Jeannie, what do you want to say?
Yeah, I mean, embodying pick two adjectives that describe an expert or whoever, if it's, so confidence and, deep faith or whatever, not even adjectives, but like two words, and then just embody that. So someone who has deep faith in their healing or a lot of confidence, what do? So when I had my Joel like 2 weeks ago with my ankles and I have all this fear, I did all the same things that I always do. And I gave myself more self-care and I gave myself more time to process my emotions. So, and I would say for you, Dispenza, if that brings you safety, not everyone resonates. So it's not like you're forcing yourself to use this. Like, why does meditation or yoga nidra, like what? It's not the actual track or the person. It's, do you feel a sense of safety? And does that bring you hope? And if Dispenza brings you safety and hope, then absolutely, absolutely. And there's always, I know it's hard to hear, there's always a deeper reason, like Tova said, why the symptom and the pain is still there. Often the doctors, the experts will say it's the deeper emotional work that needs to be done. Also, it's how we treat ourselves. It's either relationship with ourselves, the pain, or others. So look at those three and see, maybe you are still being hard on yourself. Maybe not, but that's typically those three. Yeah.
These are strong, sensitive people. These are brilliant people. We are brilliant people. get who gets, TMS. So good answer. I want to take two more questions. We're a little bit up our time, but I see there might be some more questions, and I want to take two more, Brian, if it's okay. And I want to address that we can definitely answer questions on the YouTube channel. Jeannie and I will check the questions tonight or tomorrow. You can visit us on the TMS Roundtable Facebook page, the other TMS Roundtable Tension Binaural Sinus page that we meet you on. Feel free to continue the dialogue with us. So again, let's answer two more questions, Brian. Any practical tips to get started and manage this fear?
Yeah.
Well, listen to this video.
Yeah, watch this video. Watch it again. Take notes. I will say
again.
Yeah, watch it again and take out your notebook. And I'm gonna challenge some of you that are here to, even if we're not gonna be able to answer all, write a question. Like, this could be like your moment. Write a question, write a comment that we'll get to another time. And maybe if you're feeling brave, right, courageous, what's your biggest take? I'd love to hear. We want to know. It's so funny when I'm on a call with the client, they go, "Oh, what you said last time really helped." Like, okay, what was it, right? So we want to know, what was the biggest takeaway? Put it in the chat right now. What's the biggest takeaway so far from this live?
To answer that, like you guys heard some of this. You can answer her question, and you know what? We'll repeat it again. I mean, changing your focus, reframing, trusting your body's not punishing you, but protecting you. Pick up the book from Susan Jeffers. Pick up the PRT workbook. It's chock full of information. And I will say one thing here. I mean, these women had horrible migraines. These two women that wrote this book, they're working in Alan Gordon's office with the pain processing therapy. They do say something. It's a little bit triggering, trigger alert. The less that you want your pain to go away, the more it goes away. So the less attachment to what do I need to do? I got to do it now. And this is something for Joel, go live your life. And then the symptoms go away. This is big. Buglio's talking about it. Dan Ratner's talking about it. We're all talking about it. Live your life. We've got Simone Holderback coming on in a few weeks. She's a therapist talking about joy. And Dr. Hanson talks about play. We're serious people. We're full of serious. We're heavy. I know I'm heavy, too heavy for me.
Here's a good first step, because a lot of people are obsessed, like Tova said, about their symptoms and I can't play or joy. So start small. Microdose joy, 3 seconds. So your coffee in the morning, you're not having pleasure with but that first sip, like 3 seconds, like microdose joy. Give yourself a challenge 3 times during the day. I'm going to so when you go out for a walk, and maybe, the whole walk, 20 minutes isn't lovely because you're like, so microdose it. Enjoy 20 seconds of the walk and feel the sun or the air on your skin. So this is something that, because people have excuses. We know you. I can't because I'm in so much pain. You can microdose joy. Start with 3 seconds, 3 times a day, go to 30, right where you actually find some joy. Think of this broadcast. Did you have any joy when we were so funny and witty? Just kidding.
No, I love it. And you know what? Maybe what we have to do, and this is why I'm going to go live weekly for the rest of my life, which is like another 40 years. I'll be a little bit more gray. I'll be a little bit more wrinkled, but Jeannie and I will show up, and we're going to talk about fear. Because guess what? It's repetition. We are human beings. We have, a brain, a body, a subconscious mind. We're programmed, but you can reprogram yourself. So it's about repetition. We all know how to ride a bike. We all know how to drive a car. We learned that. I'm learning a new language. Jeannie's learning way new things, and so part of it is to be loving and gentle, compassionate, patient. And like the Buddha says, no expectations. What if you just respond to the next time you have a symptom? Respond. What if you believe that you are the placebo and you have everything inside of you that you need? You just have to not interfere because we get in the way of ourselves.
Yeah.
Jeannie, what do we want to
Yeah.
last say to some of the listeners? Because I'm so happy to see all of you here. What would you like to
Yeah.
say
Well, I don't know. Can
in
you see the
closing?
takeaways are coming in, which are so sweet. So Liz says, feel it to heal it. Yeah. And who knew? That was what a cliche. I heard that a long time ago. I didn't freaking
Yeah,
understand it.
yeah,
Right. So it's like,
yeah.
oh, feel it to heal it. All of it. The symptoms, the pain, the anxiety, the emotions, the stress, like literally those, 5 words will change your life if you get it. Now, feel it to heal it. Maybe just feel it for 3 seconds and feel it for 10 seconds and have some compassion. And you're going to mess up and it's going to be hard. It's going to be scary. But that's the thing. We're taking away the fear of the fear. You got to really embody the feeling it to heal it. I love that. And then Brian, can you put, we want to share Susan. So great.
My biggest takeaway is I'm on the right path, convoluted as it's been, but I have great faith, and you ladies are the best. Wow. I love it. You are all doctors. You're all therapists. We're
Yeah.
just messengers. We're just messengers. In Hebrew, we're shaliachs. We're just the messengers bringing it to you, but you figured it out. We're just mirrors.
Say too, if you are one of the many, many, many people that maybe believes there's different layers of doubt, but if you believe TMS exists, right? You're here, you know TMS, and then you also believe that you have TMS. Those are like Dan Ratner talks about the 3 levels of doubt. So it's like TMS, I get it, and I have TMS, but you're on the 3rd layer, but like I can't heal, or that's really not believing in yourself. And so that's why we're gonna everything that we can do, work with the coach, work with the therapist, work in a group. That is huge. And if we just stay in these excuses, but, right, we don't want you to be in the victim. We want you to have the agency. We always say, this is neuroscience. Your body isn't different. So if this keeps coming, I'm different, or there's fear that I can't hear, like that's super important to
I want to
on that.
piggyback on that. I want to piggyback on that because I met a woman the other night on a call, and she'll probably be a guest in December, and she went through enormous long COVID, CSF, migraines, and she did so many programs, and she met so many different coaches, but she understood that was her journey. She had to go from here to here. I never want anyone to look back and say, well, that failed and that didn't work and I wasted my money. That is your journey. And sometimes you got to plug in a one-on-one with the coach, with like some really intense, deep work. And sometimes you got to go to a group. Sometimes you got to sit back and just hang out the page. Sometimes you got to do nothing and come off Facebook for a while. It is a journey. And I think it's important to look at where you're at and to honor your past, integrate it with the present, and really believe in your journey. And we're back to like what Michael Galinsky and I would always talk about, which is about you. And we have this, we all have this condition called being human, and it's fatal,
Yeah.
So, anything else you want to mention, Jeannie, before we round up and say goodnight?
Anne also mentioned, she said, so many takeaways. I'll read. So many takeaways, shift my perspective. Remember, I have choices and acknowledge the fear, feel it in my body. So, I mean, who knew that feeling fear in the body was a thing, right? I mean, who talks about that? Like, I mean, I probably just learned that very recently. So if you don't believe you can heal, then work with someone who does. I mean, it brings safety, it brings encouragement. People start a coaching session with us in the doom and gloom and really discouraged. And at the end, they're excited. I mean, you can shift in 1 hour your whole mood and outlook and perspective. So really powerful.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, what a wonderful hour to spend with you, Jeannie. It's never a dull moment. And I really love working with you and responding in the way that we do. And I get excited and emotional, and it's important for us to express ourselves. So thank you. Thank you to the listeners for bringing us into your home.
Yeah.
We benefit as well. It's a round table, and we've really enjoyed discussing with you. Again, any more questions? You wake up in the middle of the night and you forgot to say something, bring it on. We're here. This recording will be up probably tomorrow morning. I have an amazing assistant who helps me with this, and he'll have a polished version tomorrow morning. It'll be on the YouTube channel. It'll be also back on the Facebook page. You can continue to ask questions. You can reach out to Jeannie on Instagram and on her Facebook page. I'm available on YouTube, Instagram. You can also contact me for a discovery call, Jeannie for a discovery call. We're here to talk to you and help you on your journey with various personal insights. Because again, there's no two thumbprints alike. There's no two snowflakes alike. And your journey is your journey. Honor it. Give it grace. You will recover. There is no doubt in my mind.
Yeah. Amen.
So on that note, thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. God bless you. See you next week. Bye.